My girlfriend, Ophelia, is someone else who was rather unjustly dragged through all this. Not just the whole situation, but everything leading up to it as well, including most of our relationship. Ophelia and I wound up meeting on Twitter back in April of last year, and since that first day, she's always tried her best to help me with everything she could. Of course, this was before Lynn and I split, so we wound up forming a pretty nasty trauma bond. This led to a few very bad choices on her part. Firstly, Ophelia falsely equated her own POCD with Malin's actual pedophilia. To clarify, there is a difference between POCD and actual pedophilia. Namely, pedophiles experience pleasure when thinking bad things about children. They experience urges to act on these thoughts and frequently wind up allowing said urges to win. Those with POCD, on the other hand, merely experience intrusive thoughts that lead them to believe they are pedophiles. Their thoughts disgust them, and they experience no actual urges to act on them. Before she learned about the secret, Ophelia had assumed that hers and Malin's struggles were one and the same. Because of this, Ophelia wound up misdiagnosing us with POCD. I actually have no recollection of this initially happening, but I assume we just took any out we could have gotten at that point. After Malin confessed, Ophelia reacted in much the same way as Autumn. Thanks to the trauma bond and suicide contingency though, Ophelia wound up largely internalizing her reaction. The memory of the whole interaction wound up being repressed and eventually taken away by one of Ophelia's alters. This particular alter actually wound up forming their own bond with Lynn after she and I split for the first time, which culminated in her and Ophelia fusing around the same time Lynn and I refused. This fusion worsened Ophelia's trauma bond to the point she was manipulated into playing a part in slandering Autumn. Initially, the screenshot was meant to stay largely private, but Malin pressured Ophelia into having it added to the doc. I'd provide more details, but neither Ophelia nor I seem to remember the situation very well, likely due to the other parts of our fusions having taken the memories. That said, apologies for the poor segue, but I feel I should touch on Ophelia's own similar situation. As I mentioned before, Ophelia was also roughly 7 when her incident happened with her dog. As she described in her entry, she was pretty much forced to do what she did. The entry will be linked in the description so you can read over it yourself. Overall, while Ophelia has definitely made some mistakes, I think she too should be excused, as she was largely manipulated and abused into doing what she did. This is a situation that I never properly addressed until now, and that's largely because I could never figure out how to word it or manage to compile enough proof. While I'm willing to take responsibility for the lie, what the lie means, and my general poor treatment of others, it should be known that most of Nay's thread is misinformation. First and foremost, we'll deal with the single most damning screenshot in the whole thread. This right here was taken blatantly out of context in order to paint me as a groomer. Nay was not 17 when the screenshot was taken. He was already 18 when we met. This much I can easily prove given his birthday, the timestamps on the screenshot itself, and some basic math. Next, I'll address the puppy nonsense. These two were taken wildly out of context, and while I can't really prove much thanks to my account having been deleted, I can assure you that everything between us was 100% consensual. In fact, the pet play wasn't even my idea. Before Nay and I flirted with one another for the first time, he sent me a comprehensive list of all of his kinks, which of course included pet play. I'll admit, I may have gone a bit overboard with the puppy stuff, but I promise I never meant any harm. Hell, I was under the impression that he enjoyed our time together, given he never once used the safe word pinned in our DMs and, if I remember correctly, even explicitly told me that our sessions helped him de-stress. In fact, there was only one instance I can think of where he ever expressed discomfort with my advances, and I halted them as soon as I noticed. Next up, something else that was taken out of context. Again, I can't prove much due to the account deletion, but I assure you I didn't say that in response to a heartfelt message or anything. Nay had a habit of sending me his work-in-progress fanfictions in hopes that I'd read them and provide feedback. While I may have been a bit rude with some of my responses, I do have reasons for not reading them. Firstly, by this point in my life, I was incredibly busy. I always had some sort of mod work on my plate, and while that may be my fault for spreading myself so thin, the point still stands. Secondly, I've always had trouble with reading. It very quickly overwhelms and mentally exhausts me. This sort of thing wasn't even exclusive to my relationship with Nay. One of the friends I had used to send me his fanfics too, and even when I had time, I couldn't do much reading of them because I'd get overwhelmed. I've explained both of these issues to Nay on more than one occasion, but that never stopped him. This thread, as well as Aqua's doc, also include various off-color jokes regarding children. Tasteless as they may have been, I assure you they were nothing more than jokes. The friend group I was a part of made jokes like these all the time. I will, however, acknowledge my fault of taking the bit too far. In hindsight, jokes like that, specifically targeting someone, especially my partner, were indeed wrong, and for this at least, I do apologize. In my defense though, Nay never really expressed discomfort from these jokes. If I would have known these jokes made him uncomfortable, I would have at least ceased the ones targeting him. The rest of this thread includes resolved mod team drama, some stuff I won't touch on for the sake of Nay's privacy, and strangely enough, me providing emotional support. I truly loved Nay with all of my heart. All I ever wanted with him was to be the best partner I knew how to be, and while maybe my best wasn't quite enough, I really did try to give him all the love, trust, and support I possibly could have. I fully understand why he publicized that one screenshot, but I just can't wrap my head around why he saw it fit to spread misinformation about our relationship. So there you have it. Hopefully this provides at least marginally better closure than either of those half-baked docs we made. If any of you are left with any unanswered questions or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you feel the need to hate or harass anyone mentioned in this video, please let it be me rather than anyone else. If enough people raise enough outstanding points, I'll consider making a follow-up video. For now at least, this seems to be a good enough point to end on. That said, regardless of whatever conclusions you draw, I want to sincerely thank you for watching and hearing me out. Goodbye for now.